But let's talk a little bit about where Energy are now, right? They're 4-2. They're up over Rival, push Rival down to 3-3, and they split already. But Rival are really going to need to win out, it feels like, to make sure they can still stay comfortable. This match was so important.
And that's where it becomes problematic, because of the way that Obey have been looking, we all know what Dignitas have been looking like as well. And
yes.
Speaking of which, I mean, they've got a pretty important set coming up as well, because if they want to solidify themselves as #1, taking home this set from Mouse today would be massive implications in the standings.
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk a little bit then about that set too, Taco. I agree, since you bring it up, because I think you're right. Dignitas are going to be the first test for Mouse now with this roster shakeup, and I couldn't ask for a tougher test, right? It's like you read chapter 1, and then your professor was like, hope you're all ready for the whole book, because we're just doing it all right here, right now. Mouse got to be ready.
That was always my favorite, though, when they'd give you an entire homework assignment, especially for math courses. Like, you get the entire homework assignment, and the next thing you know, it's like the test is entirely different. It's like a different language.
Right, yeah. It's like, hey, I hope that you all learned all your calculus, because we're doing trig now or something else. It's like, yeah, they're just changing up on you. Well, Mouse are going to have a difficult time, I think, trying to make this one work. First of all, just give me sort of your thoughts on this change overall, right? And if you didn't hear earlier on Esports Weekly, it's going to be Dardez doing the Hunter work for them now, Cherryo supporting, FrostiaK in the jungle. A lot different coming out from this team now.
Well, now that Dardez is playing Hunter, or in the Hunter role, I'm kind of expecting him to see the Ares ADC at this point. Like, it doesn't feel right to think of Dardez playing a traditional Hunter in a traditional role, but that seems to be the position that Mouse have decided to take here. I don't think that the team felt as though SPL was problematic in any means. I do feel as though they identified a separate issue. I feel like Mouse kind of jumped the gun with this roster swap, and that's not to be like a slight against FrostiaK by any means. It's just that SpuddyO, for the last like 2 or 3 sets that he played with Mouse, was constantly losing his farm because of his team. They were the ones that were messing up their Hunter, and he's on the bench now, which I find to be a little bit odd. But if Mouse really feel that confident about this roster swap and that they feel it's their best chance of making their run at Worlds, well, I guess you just gotta let it see it fly and see what happens.
And you heard them talking about it. It was a mental thing for them, right? They felt like their confidence was low. I think it was Tingz who put out the post. I'm not exactly 100% sure, but in the tweet longer, they were saying, our confidence is at an all-time low. The team atmosphere wasn't very good. If that's the case, even and I talked about this with Ryan before, even if the actual moves were wrong, who's to say on that? The fact that they made a move is good, because the environment wasn't the right way. If they feel good about it, that's more important, I think, than even if it was good. Now their heads are going to be in the right spot. They can start trying to make their way forward.
But having to do it up against Dignitas, too, as your, that's your big debut. FrostiaK, welcome back to the SPL. By the way, you're going up against QvoFred.
Yeah, I hope
his team's undefeated.
You had to lay it on the line that hard for him, but it's not going to be easy for him. This Dignitas roster is so strong. So as we sort of transition into picks and bans here for him, I mean, what are you expecting Mouse to prioritize? Do they want to get FrostiaK on a comfort pick? Do they want to give Dardez a Chernobog right out the gate? I mean, what are they prioritizing?
I would rather see Mouse hold off on a pick for FrostiaK, let Qvo go for his God choice first, and then look to try and find a pick for Frosty that's going to be able to work. Because the one thing I do know about FrostiaK that I don't expect to change anytime soon is he will either get or give up First Blood. There is no in between. There is no other way for this match to possibly play out. I wish we could actually do like a live betting stage for FrostiaK if he's going to get or give First Blood.
He almost certainly is going to be a part of it, right? He loves to just play aggressive in the jungle, and I doubt that we'll see that change here. But Dignitas banning away the Athena and the Chernobog right away, taking some of those great rotational abilities off the board. Freya being banned too. That means that some of the value picks left over, you think of Pele, you think of the Naja, you think of Sobex that get picked early on like this as well. And of course the Serqet, good call there for QvoFred. That's a problem right now. If you're FrostiaK going against QvoFred Serqet, welcome back. This is just not going to be easy.
FrostiaK does have a tendency to lean towards, I think some of his best performances have come whenever he's been on Humbats or even the Susano, so I'd imagine that Mouse should try and base their composition around gods that can control large areas of space, and that's exactly what we're getting from this Amaterasu. I think the Dazzling Offense is going to be very critical in keeping Dignitas zoned away from certain areas during these engagements. You don't typically want to withstand the duration of that Emma ultimate to find yourself getting stunned out.
see if they can make that work for them, as this likely is the duo lane for Mouse, right? The Amaterasu Ram. We'll see where it all goes, but that's going to be our thoughts there. Morrigan and Terra coming in for Dignitas, a big pick for Zyrhoes. I feel like he's really our premier Morrigan player right now. He's made the Bumba's Mask build look particularly strong. He really places Terra, this Morrigan at a high level. So QvoFred on Serqet, Zyrhoes on Morrigan, that might not be good news.
And one big thing too, all jokes aside, is that Mouse might have some benefits of the honeymoon phase. It's not uncommon for teams to have a bit of a surge of team morale boost just going through the roof, just because adding FrostiaK and BigManTingz to release the Twit longer this suddenly and saying, you know, the team feels a lot better about this decision. Who knows? Maybe Mouse are really just feeling it for this set.
I agree with you 100%. That's sort of what I was alluding to earlier. If they had a bad mentality before, even if maybe their team's not better mechanically or whatever it is, and who's to say on that, if their mentality is better, that is huge for them, and they'll be in a much better spot. Now, again, we might not see the effects of that till later. We'll see how it goes up against Dig. It's just such a difficult task for them, but maybe that's going to be enough for them to overthrow the black and yellow.
I like seeing the Ravana pick, though, for Mouse. I think it brings a lot of nice dive potential that could be very useful when trying to deal with this Morrigan Serqet combination. But everywhere else for Dignitas looks a little bit shaky. I mean, in terms of frontline, by the way, because Terra brings some pressure with the Earth and Fury, but laning phase a little bit more questionable. I'm assuming that that's probably going to end up being a Terra in the support role. I can't imagine Sylvanus in solo.
Right, and it almost seems like too much, right? You already have the Sylvanus. Do you need Izanami or vice versa? That's so much lane clear and pressure between them in that dual lane, right? It's going to be so difficult for Rama and whoever pairs up with him to try and deal with this pressure. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being the Yama, but that's a ton. They will certainly be out clearing who's ever over there in favor of Dignitas. Is that enough for you all to think they're going to win? Let us know in the mixer.
This almost feels like a direct challenge from Dignitas to FrostiaK, because by putting this much pressure early on, or at least causing Mouse to notice that there's going to be plenty of pressure coming out of that dual lane, then FrostiaK's going to be split between making the decision of, do I farm my jungle traditionally or leave that for Qvo to take, and I go to try and assist my dual lane a little bit better to make sure that I don't lose, or my team doesn't lose all of the buffs on duo mid-side. And I think that could be a very complicated task for FrostiaK. Could cause for a lot of confusion as well, which is, I think, exactly what Dig are aiming for.
A big test for FrostiaK right out the gate. Let's see if he can handle it going up against the big boys here of Team Dignitas. Game one's ready. Let's see that roster swap in action. Casters, take it away.
Thank you so much, Des. Anatoly and I will be bringing you today's broadcast of Dignitas up against mousesports. Our first look at all the changes Mouse have made, for better or worse. We get to see the first chance of them here today.
And Dardez piloting the Hunter on the Ram, something that his former teammate Jermaine loved to do. So a little bit of history there. There's going to be a lot of lane pressure for both of these teams. Amaterasu was heavily favored for Dignitas in week number 2, but now mousesports stripping that away from them.
Yeah, a lot of pressure though back onto Dignitas, and Trix taking more damage than bargained for. Gotta respectful of the minions and the damage Cherryo can put out. Wow. Welcome back to the support role, Cherryo. First blood, mousesports.
Oh, Dardez taking a lot of poke as well. It seems that Taka was a little wrong on the desk, considering that it wasn't FrostiaK getting first blood or being first blooded.
Oh, well, I think that was the fans at home as well, Tolly. 59% expected FrostiaK would be first blood. Not to be the case. It's Trixtank and Dignitas that take a tumble down in our mousesports duo lane. Get a nice little advantage.
And that all comes down to that Amaterasu passive. Cherryo unrelenting pressure, even using that dash offensively up against a level 1 Sylvanus. You don't have to worry about the pull, and I like these plays. Mousesports striking hot and fast.
Yeah, and it's a good place to start as well, especially in a duo lane that you should technically be struggling as this continues. Izanami and Sylvanus, that wave clear. Round 2, round 3 is definitely going to be better than what Dardez and Cherryo can offer.
Absolutely, but Cherryo is able to just bringing more damage on a specific individual god than Trixtank will ever be able to. It's all about the team fights where Trixtank should have more control with the Wrath of Terror, keeping people in place, pulling them maybe through a wall, and just consistently displacing them, whereas Cherryo is all about the burst damage.
It's one of the most standard comps I've seen Mouse run this year, actually, thinking about it, in terms of the positions and the picks they've gone for here.
Sure.
Cerberus in solo lane, you know. what we've seen in the jungle, just like not many Ravens from them, I'll say that.
It's what happens when Dardez actually goes in the hunter role, where you force him to play a traditional physical hunter. Now you don't get any shenanigans.
Don't stop there. He'll be playing Noir next week. You never know.
Probably, but
maybe even game 2.
It's not even him that started it, however. You know, Emilino
yeah.
from Energy likes to play that goddess every now and then, and there's some merit to the madness.
So Relic starts at the moment. Shell for Trixtank, Sprint for Cherryo. To the standard, both solo lanes going for Teleport. The jungle, however, bit of a difference there. Blink and Bead. Surprised by the beads on FrostiaK. He's played this very safe here, Toy.
Very true. As a Robin, you don't necessarily have to. You got your overhead kick.
Yeah.
You got the Mystic Rush, but FrostiaK would rather be played safe than sorry. Surviving the last breath could bait QvoFred in a very dicey situation. So FrostiaK probably going to be leaning towards those counter engages.
Yeah, because beads definitely benefit any single character. Some characters that have CC immunity in the kit or a get out of jail free card look to try and abuse that situation by keeping the aggression going. It does kind of dictate to me that Mouse are focused on surviving here, if anything, when Dignitas engage and then turning it around.
That's what it's all about for mousesports. They struck first. Now it's all about how they maintain the pressure in this duel lane. They have this level lead, but they're not really abusing it the way that they could. Trixtank now hitting level 3. Could find the pull. Cherryo narrowly avoiding that one. Purple buff's not due to respawn for Mouse's side, so Dignitas should be able to confirm their own.
So the other thing separating these two teams now is just that little bit of gold in the dual lane that went to Cherryo of all people as well, so that will help him to get his build online a little bit quicker. At the moment, though, still no trips back to base. We'll be working on what more than likely in this game will be the reinforced Greaves, I expect, or maybe Talaria for the mobility.
I like what Dignitas are doing in this dual lane, waiting for QvoFred to make this rotation. There goes the blink, and there goes the Guardian.
Disgusting. Cherryo might still survive if he can, though, but he can't juke out enough. QvoFred credited with a kill. Absolutely systematic destruction.
Level 4 Amaterasu doesn't have CC immunity. No dazzling offensive to be able to get away from the danger. And a great body block to prevent the dash means another return kill to QvoFred, striking at 4 minutes.
So all action in the dual lane. Solo lane is one of these battles that, well, you won't see too much, I'd say, between the two. Very difficult for either to find a solo lane kill. Junglers may make an appearance, but that window's kind of closing at this point anyway, where these Guardians in the solo lane will start to get those items.
It's funny seeing both of these Guardians in the solo lane picking up the blessing of Guardians, right? And Variety is winning in the stacking department, which means he's not last hitting. But in theory, Nika is last hitting, so he's technically getting more gold,
Wait
but
a
not
second.
in the long run.
Zero's going to jump in, avoids the ultimate out of BigManTingz. Poison hits onto FrostiaK, and BigManTingz was right nearby, but the split difference of damage means that both members of mousesports will survive.
BigManTingz having to back, but actually cancels it at the last second, so still going to pick up some of this important farm as Variety's getting heavily bullied, and this is an important timing as Nika paralyzing spit is only going to get stronger. Variety doesn't have the monolith maxed out yet, so doesn't have the sustain to keep up with the poke.
You say heavily, but then if you look at the experience gain, slightly ahead at the moment is Variety in that lane up against Cerberus. There's about a 50 experience a minute difference between the two as it stands.
But with the wave now coming back up, it was also because Nika just had to go pick up that blue buff, so he's going to get that wave momentarily, no issues there. Looking more at the dual lane, as Cherryo did hit level 5 now before Trixtank. When I see Izanami Sylvanus, I think instant lane pressure, but mousesports shutting that down with that level 1 engagement prevents Dignitas from really stretching the biggest strength, I would say, that this team has.
No, I completely agree. Although, sitting back like they're doing now, if they continue to just keep the waves freezing here, it's given prime real estate for Qvo to be swinging into, or even Zyrhoes to make some rotations from mid when the window presents itself.
It's also denying a lot of farm for Dardez, that's being able to pick up his own purple buff, trying to make sure, or not pick it up, but clear it and get the experience in gold any which way that he can, knowing he doesn't want to really overstep any boundaries by being that deep in the laning phase. The way QvoFred ganked in the previous attempt could go for round 2 here right now.
Yeah, purple buff has spawned. mousesports in position. Pull in onto Cherryo. Ultimate for ultimate traded out, and Cherryo avoids the knock-up, returns with a stun. Into the sky, though, goes Dardez, and on landing, there's 4 members of Dig waiting.
How can Dardez survive this one? Blink! QvoFred finds one, a last breath, but the stun before the basic attack doesn't matter. Arkkyl cleaning up BigManTingz.
Poison helps spread. It went to FrostiaK, and Mouse do not have an answer there. That was mousesports getting aggressive for the purple, and Dignitas just collapsing as a 4-man unit.
We were talking about it, how mousesports don't want to be this deep, but I don't think they got that same memo, Hindu man. They didn't respect the blink capabilities out of QvoFred, now getting his second kill and an assist, a part of 100% of Dignitas' kills.
Still, though, the duel lane from Dignitas needs to do a bit more catching up. Trixtank still only level 5 to Cherryo's level 6. The only real difference separating the two is the new wave comes through. But Dignitas playing around the duel lane now, Tolly. You said, you know, they've got great wave clear, but they're not having to use it. They've actually got just good kill potential when people are overextended with this composition.
Trixtank has the control, and Cherryo doesn't really have the items to benefit from the scaling of some of the abilities. That dazzling offensive scales so well, but as a support, you're forced to go into more defensive items.
QvoFred is absolutely everywhere right now. 2 visits to the left-hand side and 1 quick trip to say hello to Nika, just making sure he's aware of the situation he could be put in there. And that gank wasn't going to result in much. This one might, though, with Zyrhoes. Oh my goodness, he escaped!
The transformation actually keeps him up alive. I think the little disjoint prevented the final judgment damage from BigManTingz. Great timing. Very fortunate timing for Zyrhoes.
And notice how he turned into Serqet as well. You'll see this time and time again from Morrigan's. One of the reasons I feel Morrigan's come back, Tolly, is her stealth, once upon a time, used to have a little bit more mobility. And when that kind of went away is when we saw Morrigan start to disappear. But with the invention of Bumba's mask now, it gives you mobility that is making up for the mobility you lost elsewhere.
Serqet is one of these catch-22s because as you're maxing out your Dark Omen, your second ability, when you transform into Serqet, well, that's going to be your Cobra's Kiss.
Sure.
So it's not going to be your Deathbane damage necessarily. So it's more important probably to transform into the Ravana. The overhead kick will probably do a little bit more damage, but it's all about the last breath at the end of the day. Double poisons just for the team fight spreads.
And that last breath is open. QvoFred is already in a position to gank. Blink is available, but he'll leap in. Goes towards Dardez as Cherryo trying to find the turnaround stun and gets it. Arkkyl could die for that, and Cherryo gets the kill. Great little play out of mousesports 2v3. Now it's a 1v3 as Zyrhoes makes the rotation. But 1 for 1, both hunters die.
Oh, Arkkyl got a little bit overzealous. Trixtank, Wrath of Terror didn't come out fast enough while Dardez was going up in the sky, so he had plenty of time to be able to find the shots on the ground. If Dardez gets hit by Wrath of Terror, I think he dies before some of those shots come out, and therefore Arkkyl survives.
So this is adjustment for Mouse in the first 10 minutes of this game. Duel lanes holding their own is the best way I can say this against Dignitas. However, jungle, FrostiaK's not really done much so far. He's just been farming, but even then, he's not ahead in experience over Qvo.
Well, that's because he's going for the beats, so he's not going to be looking for the offensive plays, and because of his non-rotations, you would expect him to be ahead, but because there's 3 kills and 1 assist for QvoFred, naturally, he's just going to get the farm from farming players.
So in the end, it's kind of even right now, I guess, in the jungle. If you take into the kills into account, Oracle's being taken down by Cherryo, or attempted, but Arkkyl has arrived, and got to be a little bit careful, as he doesn't have any further support. He's just going to have to surrender those, and mousesports get a bit of global experience in their favor.
The one thing Arkkyl has going for him is that he's finished the Devo gloves before the boots, so he's going to win the stacking race. In the right side, though, I don't know if Nika's going to be safe from this one.
Oh, he's forced to ult, and a nice little juke out from QvoFred just beforehand. Obviously, he didn't have beads available. But that's what you're trying to do, keep those cooldowns off, so the gank potential of the solo's not even there. And next time, Nika's not going to have that available if Qvo comes a hunting.
It's all about the displacement. Nika probably would have survived at the end of the day, but he would have been left at 20% health. It's not worth staying in the laning phase because round 2 from QvoFred will certainly be around the corner. So instead, training that ultimate so he can just farm for about 2 to 3 more waves, not a bad idea for Nika.
So 4-2 in the standings then. Gold is still just slightly in favor of mousesports at the moment. Experience, not really much of a difference either. This is a good pace so far. Mouse taking on the undefeated Dignitas this split. They've not lost a set at all to any opposition in the first 3 weeks of play. So they played every team in the SPL so far.
They're 5-0 currently, and Nika is actually going to be 0-1. Great gank from QvoFred, really abusing Nika without that ultimate no CC immunity.
Was it Nika a little bit worried about the pyromancer being done there? Is that why he was doing that rotation? Because there was a minion wave there. There's nothing up in the jungle. The only real threat is a pyro.
It might have been him dropping a ward right between the fire giant and the pyromancer. So it's a good spot to really see where QvoFred is going to go, but just right underneath that pillar, like a true assassin stalker, QvoFred recognizes the pattern and chases Nika down with the ultimate from Variety as well. That's just easy pickings without the Stygian Torment.
Yeah, Variety actually playing this Terra. And funny enough, last time you played Terra, it wasn't by choice. It wasn't supposed to be a Terra pick.
Oh,
Dignitas made the Arkkyl accidentally misclicked, and picked up Terra instead of, I believe, I can't remember who it was now.
Well, like Bob Ross says, there's no mistakes. There's only happy little accidents.
Hey!
And after Variety has picked the Terra the previous week, he realizes, like, hey, Terra's pretty good. Xaylia might be onto something.
Seems to be the case, and I think that's one of the reasons they've gone to it here, to see how this will work out for themselves. Obviously, double sustain in terms of the Guardians this game as well. Wisps, as well as the dot heals that are going to come out from Variety's ultimate. There's a little bit of hidden sustain on this team from Dignitas.
It's just good control all across the board, and a lot easier to confirm control. Variety can't really miss the monolith crashing through unless, you know, he bumps into his keyboard or something on the mouse, whereas Nika's Paralyzing Spit is a relatively difficult skill shot to land consistently. That fourth projectile hit to apply the stun, fairly difficult.
I do like the focus that Qvo has been giving a little bit more to the solo lane now. He's been to duo a couple of times, found a couple of kills there, but recognize that Mouse seem to be holding their own there, and it's not working out as impactful as they'd like. So instead, he's headed towards solo and supporting Variety a little bit more.
Well, if he's going to go into the solo lane, mousesports need to capitalize by making something happen on the left. They will confirm the Oracle, so they'll get the vision for at least another minute. But at the end of the day, FrostiaK has just been not really too active currently. Nessa Ravid, your strengths are certainly in this early to mid game portion. Not to say that he's going to be useless in the late game, because Ravens can certainly still play cleanup crew, but you're missing that big oomph. But now that he's level 12, he could be looking for some blink and some hot plays.
Talking about oomph, Dignitas' composition here on offense, I'm a little bit concerned about engagements. Outside of QvoFred really diving in there on Serqet or blink ults from Sylvanus, it's kind of lackluster there, Tully. I'm a little bit concerned that could cause them a problem.
It could be. Variety should be able to, you know, root several members in place, and you don't always have to dive the backline for some kills. It's all about poke and disengage, and the composition from Dignitas certainly allows it with this double sustain. Trixtank and Variety can go in, look for the frontliners, poke them out, return to heal.
I'm only worried about the fact that BigManTingz on the other team, and the Thoth in that situation is great for both offense and defense. For that poke battle, it will at least go even. Right, and Harpy's going to go the way Dignitas here. Trix holding the full wave to make sure his teammates can also soak that experience too.
Well, right now the player damage for BigManTingz is non-existent, even less than Trixtank currently, and it's only going to get diminished if he finishes off this Messenger's Mask, getting 10% damage reduced. So we'll see how he transitions that. A lot of mages will just keep it at tier 2 potentially. And knowing Zyrhoes, he loves finishing off Messenger's Mask, but I'm not sure if that's necessary for a Thoth, whereas your dash through your wall covers so much distance anyway. That extra mobility not always required.
Well, it'll help him juke out a little bit more. And the cooldown too, don't forget, that does come into play and help out a little bit more so. That has been finished now then for BigManTingz, and we'll see how this converts. But definitely Mouse's game plan here, Tully, seems to be hang around, because you can tell by jungle and mid, neither of them have really done much so far this game in terms of damage either. This clearly tells me that Mouse want to fight around objectives as a team, so they're just trying to get through the laning phase.
That's true. A lot of these deaths are occurring at awkward timings, not necessarily near some of these objectives. Maybe some blue buffs could have been stolen consistently after the death from Nika, but with a couple of kills onto Dardez, there was no real opportunity to invade purples or red, so mousesports still holding their own against this undefeated black and yellow order side.
If you're just shooting as well, Mouse have made a couple of changes to their roster. FrostiaK joining Spudio, leaving, and then Cherryo and Dardez both changing roles too, from jungle to support and support to hunter. We'll see how this all plays out, and that's what we're all interested in, because Dignitas are the big boys in the league, and it's a good little litmus test today to see how they're standing against the best team in Europe.
It's all just a slow and steady pace for FrostiaK. He just doesn't want to mess up to be that focal point. I think it's all about how he counter-engages, letting Cherryo be the primary engager the way he's always been doing in the jungle side out of mousesports. Playing his less traditional style of Amaterasu. Normally he's known for his Guardian play in the jungle, not so much the Amaterasu.
Cherryo taking a bit of damage there, but it's going to hold defensively away from the danger. But QvoFred found BigManTingz. Did use the ultimate off there, and BigManTingz uses beads in response. And Big Man will take a trip back to base. Beads for an ult, not too bad.
Not too shabby whatsoever. That ultimate from Cherryo, it's going to come up relatively quickly. But on the flip side, QvoFred also had to use that Blink, so that'll be slightly longer. And without that, Dignitas might not feel so confident to be diving some of these backlines.
Yeah, Cherryo in that fight too. He used his ultimate very prematurely in the good way, because I think Arkkyl looked for the ultimate there. If he finds that silence, the burst damage is really there. Tricks into root, into big old silence, and they may be able to kill Cherryo at this stage still before he gets out of the silence situation.
A little funny interaction there, as QvoFred has to deathbane through the little back camp. Zyrhoes is like, I could have sworn I lasted it, but
I thought I hit it.
With a ranged character, you always have to be present in the moment to make sure that you're still within this circle, whether it's a buff camp, even a back camp, because that little stutter step doesn't seem very big right now, but who knows, if you're like 1 second late to the next team fight, that could cost you.
It definitely can. So second relic's online for everybody now, as everyone's above level 12, as Trixtank finally the last one to hit there, gets a nice little root off into Cherryo, who steps forward still. He's got BigManTingz and FrostiaK behind him. And Nika making the rotation to mid to join Variety, who's already got a nice wall off on BigManTingz. They're trying to abuse Thoth here a little bit, Dignitas, knowing these beats are on cooldown.
Getting the root crash through the monolith despite getting silenced is going to poke out BigManTingz quite heavily. That did finish off that Bumba's Max, not wanting to leave it at tier 2 for too long, as did Zyrhoes. Pull a little bit off the mark from Trixtank. Variety, though, is kind of zoning while Cherryo might be the focus.
Big old team fight could be developing here around the goal for you. Both teams squaring up right now, looking for an opportunity to take a fight. They both feel confident. The solo lanes specifically have the level lead for the most part. And I think that's why Dignitas feel confident, because they've got Variety here now, who's just happy to tank up for days.
The level 17 Terra. The stun is good onto Variety, but unfortunately, BigManTingz canceled his final judgment. Didn't want to fire that one against such a tanky target. Doesn't have too much health in his build quite yet, but it looks like he might be working on it now.
Yeah, by the looks of it, what do you expect here with this? I mean, he's got a couple of options. It's Gem?
No, might be Warlock staff even. Gem of Isolation would make sense with the dots once you crash through.
That sounds good, though.
It does. Double
Especially
slows.
from the solo lane, yeah.
Feels good, man.
Maybe Gem is the choice here, because I'm looking at the other options in that tree, like Warlock staff's a little bit late to be building now.
It's too late for stacks. Maybe Ethereal. That could be another option.
Quite potentially.
I think it's going to be the Gem, though, because even with your Earth and your ultimate as well, it's going to proc some damage.
And he does have the health on it with the Gem of Isolation, too, which you were saying. He doesn't have too much health in the build right now, so that'll help out a little bit. Oracle's Mouse trying to take those away, and will do so. Zyrhoes just couldn't land the damage in time. As we approach 20 minutes into the game now, it's all pretty much square between the two. No objectives, no gold furies, pyromancers. Just good hard laning phase.
Dignitas can't do objectives with BigManTingz still alive on the battlefield. That final judgment, too much of a threat.
But they do have a Morrigan, so they've got one of their own, technically, right?
Yeah, but I mean, if you use it to try to secure the objective and then mousesports force a fight afterwards, now Zyrhoes doesn't have 2 ultimates.
It's true. It's true indeed. Arkkyl level 16 now, got Poison Star online. Went for the Devour's Gauntlet, which is interesting. We've seen some of Izanami players actually go for the Bloodforge a little bit more, because the lifesteal coefficient on Izanami is a little bit different because of the back and forth swings. That's
true. The less health you get, just more damage and more lifesteal that you're going to be able to do. So I like that idea for the Bloodforge, but it was all about that early game presence. Arkkyl wanted to get a little bit of an advantage, so he actually negated getting boots first to get some of those Devil Glove stacks. Couldn't really make an advantage off of it, but if QvoFred wanted to camp that lane a little bit more instead of the solo lane, that's where the disparity could have occurred.
So real differences between the supports is one's got a bit of penetration now in, sorry, the Hunters I should say. I looked at Dardez and went support. But one of the Hunters has got penetration, the other one has gone for a bit more crit, will be working towards pen next up on the list. At the moment, though, it's the solo lane is still leading the pattern, but keep an eye on QvoFred. He's got a 2-level lead off of FrostiaK right now. He's the only one with a real big lead over his opposition.
So far, so good for both of these teams, honestly. Dignitas should be having a bigger lead if you just look at the kill count by itself, but honestly, mousesports are not making it easy to just start these objectives and get them for free. But finally, Dignitas recognize it's only Dardez around the corner.
Cherryo is also coming in, but what can Cherryo do to stop this? Dardez can still take to the sky if needed. Crits to make a bit of an impact as Cherryo comes in, and as Dardez ults for the Gold Fury, Dignitas reset, but the chase was on from Cherryo, who cancels his ult after the second swing to go back to the Gold Fury. The Dardez
Oh, mousesports with a final judgment. Get it. Nika on the backhand side uses that Stygian Torment, pulls in Trixtank. Variety, those in the back.
Nika's going to jump away towards Variety. Qvo giving chase, looking for the poison to spread. Nika will fall down, but that could be the only one. Cherryo's now trying to juke out the whole team. It's 2 for the Gold Fury in favor of, well, that's the question here, Tolly. Does Dig get something else out of this?
They have to get something out of this. This is a long respawn timer. 40 seconds for Nika, 35 out of Cherryo. I don't know if they can go for the actual Fire Giant, but the Pyromancer should be guaranteed. That was a 4-on-5 that Dignitas had to retreat. Oh, they're actually going to come in here.
I think they can. I mean, it's 21 minutes in. Builds are online. Levels are there. FrostiaK and BigManTingz are going to be the first ones to see what's going on. No ultimates available except for FrostiaK, who's being surrounded, isolated. But FrostiaK goes with the up-down on Zyrhoes. The Aegis involves the damage. Zyrhoes gets out.
Feeling very frisky as FrostiaK. Thought he was going to jump over the wall, but instead getting Zyrhoes really low, forced to use that Aegis relic, peels the Fire Giant away, so Dignitas can't confirm that one, but with a stun onto Big Man, the double stun, and Zyrhoes gets credit for that one.
Take into account when you get that Bomber's Mask, you actually take more damage too. Not
That's
only
true.
do you do a little less damage, you take more damage. So Zyrhoes is doing a little bit more. Technically cancels each other out because he's got a Bombers of his own, though.
Pretty much.
Basically, Morrigan's doing the correct amount of damage to Thoth.
Very true. But hold on, I'm trying to do the math real quickly.
Well, you take 10% less damage, and you also deal 10%.
I think you're dealing 10% less, and then they take 10% more, which actually works out in BigManTingz' favor.
Oh, really? Well, it wasn't good enough, as Zyrhoes gets credit for that kill, as QvoFred took a battle that he barely got out of, but he favored Dignitas once more.
Because mathematically, let's say Zyrhoes does 700 damage for whatever reason, that's going to become 630, and 10% extra of 630 is 63. So you're actually losing a little bit. Yeah. 7.
Cherryo could be losing more than 7 health here, and he does so, but he will survive. As Dignitas now starting to clump, using the tree and, of course, Terra side by side is causing them a lot of problems here, Mouse, where they can't get through the CC chain.
Stun onto Nika, but it's a bait, a triple pull coming out of Nika. Earth and Fury from Variety is going to successfully peel for Dignitas.
It's a good triple pull, but there's just no one there for follow-up. Variety's still confident to go in for a bit more poke as the blue buff is stripped away, and Dignitas head back and dance around the Fire Giant once more.
I can't believe BigManTingz did not pull the trigger on that final judgment. Nika is not going to get a better pull in this set probably than he did right there.
Fire Giant was pulled for a second, but a quick reset is forced. Arkkyl still has aggro, but now he's dropped it finally. In goes Cherryo to the back line, looking towards Arkkyl, who beats very early but avoided the stun. He has to dash away to safety. He's in the back. FrostiaK is taking on Zyrhoes.
Zyrhoes is trying to get away. He transforms right into QvoFred, forced to deathbane and ambush. And that's 2 players not involved for Dignitas, as Zyrhoes and Arkkyl have to back.
Good blink from Nika to try and slow down Trixtank, and Trixtank still under pressure as a great route from Variety comes through and a follow-up one from Trixtank. Final judgment fight of Variety, but he's still alive.
The shell gonna buy him a moment. A triple knocker from Trixtank this time, but still no follow-up. Dignitas' QvoFred's here has to jump back into the safety of the tier 2 tower. mousesports don't really have much mana to play with, specifically onto Cherryo.
Really impressive fight from both teams there. I'm not going to lie. There was some good plays from both defensively and offensively that has created a situation where, well, nobody ended up really dying in that engagement.
Well, Dignitas are thinking about going for this Fire Giant. Backing on out is Cherryo. Zyrhoes doing a good job positioning himself as this mobile ward on his stealth.
Well, he's a mobile stunning ward is the best way you can talk about Zyrhoes, because as soon as he lands that first stun, he's got Variety to follow up with the walls, or Trixtank with a pull or a route to set up straight after the fact too. Or, absolute worst case, Izanami's there to silence them.
This is so crazy to think that these 2 teams are so neck and neck this game if you just look at their record blindly.
Oh, no, you're right. If you just came into the Pro League and went, well, Dig undefeated so far, 5 straight victories over their opposition against all the other 5 teams in the Pro League. Coming into week 4, and mousesports make 3 roster changes technically, even though, you know, there's different roles, but they're still roster changes. And they're hanging with Dignitas. They're losing, but they're hanging.
Just narrowly. Tier 1 tower gonna get stripped away. Dignitas walk away with 500 gold. Gold Fury going to respawn in less than 30 seconds time. That could be the next objective.
It should be the next objective, I believe. The Fire Giant dance is just too much for either team to feel confident at this stage. The game's too even to really look for a risky fire, but a risky gold, it's a different story. You don't really feel like you're going to lose all the towers based on the Gold Fury going down.
I thought Dignitas were going to go for Fire Giant attempt number 2, considering that I think they might have saw Cherryo back around the corner, but they probably didn't have the relics that they wanted to. So
Cherryo
instead, playing it safe.
First one to get eyes on the Gold Fury being done. Last time this happened, Dignitas lost the Gold Fury. Cherryo pulled in. Cherryo dashes out. Gold Fury got reset and then started again. Down to 5,000 health as Cherryo and Nika on the front end are going to stop them once more.
Dignitas playing so safe. They're relying very heavily on Zyrhoes' engagements. If you have vision right above that pillar, especially with a Sentry Ward, that's going to be all fine and dandy. So Dignitas have been known to start slowing things down. I'm looking specifically at their week 3 set versus Obey Alliance, where they did have a very commanding lead. I think it was in game number 3. But they didn't want to really do anything with it. So this just goes to show how disciplined they've really become in Season 5 after not even making that summer land.
I think the land situation is one of the reasons Dignitas have changed a little bit here as well, where they've had to kind of adapt to the situation they found themselves in of, well, we keep making calls that are kind of costing us a bit, so let's just avoid those calls, which has slowed their gameplay down a little bit, but for the better in a lot of ways.
And the fact that they're doing this in the online portion makes me feel confident for Dignitas if they do make it to HRX.
And that's the path that all these players are looking to take. I think Dignitas are almost a shoe-in for the HRX right now with how their performances have gone. 5 wins under their belt. It's not guaranteed.
I mean, if they lose all 5 matches, they're probably going to get knocked out of their top 2.
That's fair.
It's
guaranteed.
It's unlikely, though.
Do you expect Dignitas to drop 5?
Not 5, but I think it's still going to be
3?
close that they can maybe get knocked out of that top 2 regardless if they lose. Yeah, if they lose 3, I could see them losing 3 against... Because it's all going to be rematches, so Obey, Rival, and Energy have the potential. What's
going on here? Mouse are trying to force a Fire Giant. I don't think by like a full force. It's just trying to bring in Dignitas. They want to fight them.
Possibly. QvoFred all the way on the top-hand side. Cherryo using the stun, but not really getting anybody. Variety not going to get stunned now. QvoFred still waiting at the back.
Still a win for Cherryo. Sorry, for Dignitas, though, as Cherryo's ultimate now on cooldown. Qvo gets a good kiss off real quick to BigManTingz, but mousesports trying to slowly reset, give an advantage here to Dignitas at the Pyromancer.
Well, Dignitas couldn't get the Gold Fury about a minute ago. Will try to strip away this Pyromancer. Very low, finally securing that one, but it's not that much gold that mousesports have to worry about. So if anyone from Dignitas backs, they'll definitely get back in a little bit quicker.
Another quick pause coming out here between the two. Sorry for the pauses, boys and girls, but these players, they need them sometimes to make sure they can play at the best edge. Dignitas up in a bit of an advantage here. Overall in terms of gold and with the kills, but Mouse are hanging in so far, and that's when we're approaching 30 minutes. And after 30 minutes is where the respawns get a little bit longer because everyone's full build and full level, and it just comes down to team fights.
I think late game could go either way, honestly. When you look at both of these teams' compositions, Amaterasu for Cherryo has the speed boost aura, the final judgment damage coming out of BigManTingz is to be respected. It's all about Zyrhoes, how he engages for Dignitas. They've been so consistent about trying to go for it, but not finding them yet.
Into game we go, and Variety's actually being chased down right now, and he could be dead, but he will get away with the barest amount of health. Nika got a good ultimate off there, I believe, is the reason that all went about. Wow. But look at how many ultimates were consumed by Mouse there.
Oh, the blink! FrostiaK makes his first play now for mousesports, trying to disengage. His Mystic Rush not available. Zyrhoes going to make FrostiaK pay.
Meanwhile, the Fire Giant was started up here by Mouse. They're trying to rush it down quickly, but it's taking him a bit longer than planned. Nika's still trying to keep QvoFred busy, but Trixtank and, of course, Arkkyl and Zyrhoes turning up means that Mouse have had to give it up.
Oh, Cherryo biting off more than he can chew. His teammates went north. Cherryo going south. He's thanking his lucky stars that Trixtank didn't really commit with the Wrath of Terra, because that would have been a guaranteed kill.
In the grand scheme of things there, Mouse, I feel, got away with a little bit of murder, in all honesty, because when you were looking at them going for the Fire Giant, yes, they got to pick on Variety, totally, but they used all their ultimates when Dignitas still had pretty much everything available.
That's true. BigManTingz was final judgment if you wanted to just unleash the demon, but respecting QvoFred in the back line. Every single time final judgment is being channeled, well, you got to worry about Cobra's Kiss, the last breath to disrupt that continuation.
We're pretty much in the late game now then as we approach 30 minutes in. Everyone's starting to reach full build, and the power potions will come into play and additional wards, so getting picked in the jungle is definitely going to be a factor. The wards are going to be important too. because Zyrhoes, he can't be given a free window to sneak around in the jungle and not be spotted. Because the moment that happens is the moment that stun and the burst that can come afterwards will be really impactful, specifically because of the Polynomicon.
I think this is why Dignitas are so patient. It's just off of Zyrhoes. He's constantly looking for those stealth plays. Polynomicon is going to help burst players down even further off of the basic attack, which is what you want to do as Morrigan, just weave those basic attacks between the stun and the Dark Omen anyway. It's a great item to pick up. Still has one more item slot going for penetration, more than likely the Obsidian Shard. And Dignitas are almost relying it to a fault. So if mousesports can see where this Morrigan is coming from, then he could be in a lot of trouble.
3,000 gold is not a big difference between these two teams either at 30 minutes in. That's nothing. That's pretty much just ward investment. If you split up amongst the team, it's not even 1,000 gold each. So it shows you that it's not going to be as impactful as you want in terms of that. But it will mean that you got those power potions a little bit earlier than the enemy team if this continues going the way it is.
It's all about a potion, like you mentioned, and 1 sentry ward for each player at the end of the day as Dignitas tier 1 solo tower getting aggressed on. mousesports taking advantage of Dignitas not wanting to overstep their boundaries, but it's all Amaterasu aura. They can make these plays because they can disengage.
Cherryo's decision to rotate that way around cost him his ultimate there in response to the stun from Zyrhoes did hit, but Zyrhoes beads in response.
Oh, Trixtank though,
he's dead.
going to get pulled back in. FrostiaK with a kill. Final judgment being used from Big Man. Not too much return fire though onto Mouse.
3 ults for 1, but the one ultimate that's down for Dignitas is Trixtank. So Mouse have a bit of an advantage here. It looks like it's not the Fire Giant. It's going to be a tier 2 tower siege here. All 5 strong, a Rama and a Thoth on the back line, and Dignitas are not going to be in a position to stop this.
Well, they're not going to stop the tier 2 tower, but they can certainly defend their Phoenix.
Yeah.
Considering that the wave took so long to get there, I'm surprised that that was the play originally. Now, they realize that Zero still has his ultimate, QvoFred and Arkkyl have the ultimate. That's some serious defense potential on the Fire Giant, so just going for some picks instead.
Mouse were trying to just bring in Dignitas to the Fire Giant area and pick them on that rotation from the solo lane, I should say. But QvoFred is flanked all the way to the back line. He did step in a ward just then, so they know exactly where he is for the time being. Actually, Qvo's going to look towards a tier 2 in the speed buff, but the Fire Giant is half health.
Look at Zyrhoes in the backline, stuns out FrostiaK, sets up the ultimate out of Arkkyl. Up in the sky goes Dardez, trying to zone away some of these backline carries. QvoFred latches onto FrostiaK. Shell's going to keep him alive.
And the Shell will keep him up indeed. Zyrhoes, though, forced out of fight, back into it again, looking for BigManTingz in the back, gets a stun in the burst, but he's still alive. Tingz gets his Aegis off in time, and Zyrhoes on the run.
Wow, look at Big Man and FrostiaK just so low. Nika going to get pulled and rooted. Wrath of Terra is going to get negated by the CC immunity as he jumps away. A great use of that Mantle of Discord.
Just 1 kill in that fight then, and the extended engagement that happened. Trixtank managed to respawn.
QvoFred on the stun to Cherryo, but no follow-up. Trixtank just too far away, and that's not even Trixtank's fault. It's just how fast Zyrhoes is.
Yeah, just at the moment in time. I mean, he could just keep running around and getting those stuns off. If you can find a set of beads here or there, that's a dream, because they're not going to have the follow-up at all. Teleported from Variety will make it through in time just before Cherryo could disarm the ward there. And the Pyromancer dancing around again. We've been on this right-hand side of the map for quite a considerable amount of time. And I don't think we're done for a while.
Definitely agree with you there, Hindu Man. I think it's been exactly 6 minutes that these teams are looking for any objective on the right. They can't even confirm the Pyromancer now. Variety and Nika just kind of staring at each other. That's what most solo laners do at this point in the game.
They've just got to be a little bit careful of the backup being round the corner more than anything else, because the burst damage from the carries will take down a solo laner if they're left alone too long. Pyro is going down very quickly here and goes the way of Dignitas for a little bit more global gold. Not too much to scream home about, but if these fights continue, that extra mobility does come into play.
Possibly, as long as the timing doesn't get exploited from mousesports, because it's still going to take about 15 to 25 seconds to get back into team fights, and mousesports have a lot of potential to disengage with the Amaterasu aura.
Unless you've got bumpers.
That's true.
Then you're even faster.
It's so fast.
There you go. Just zooming down the mid lane. Get back towards it. Only 15 kills in this game. This is a very European Season 2 game so far, I'll say that much. Dignitas, they're looking to take the fight in the jungle and win the fight to go to the objectives after the fact. mousesports, though, they're happy to take these fights because so far they haven't really lost many casualties.
It's all about how Cherryo engages for mousesports and Zyrhoes on Dignitas. And thus far, they haven't been too successful around at least confirming the Fire Giant. Picks here and there is all fun and dandy, but if you're not getting a tower Tier 2 tower was stripped away on the solo side, as mousesports did exploit that one, but 1,500 gold when your team collectively is already sitting at about 5.5 to 6 items is not going to do much for you.
You think about the player damage on the left-hand side, and just some of those numbers, I mean, less than 16,000 for the highest player damage in the game so far at 35 minutes. That screams crazy to you, doesn't it?
Sometimes you'll see in less gameplay time to have 30,000 player damage. It just goes to show how patient both of these teams are, and you got to respect QvoFred's ability to flank in Zyrhoes. mousesports are no strangers to the style from those two players, playing against them every day in ranked, almost every day in scrims probably, so understanding the true nature from the squad.
But it's Dignitas with the 2 carry positions at the top of the charts at the moment. It's a good pull from Trixtank, brings Nika in. Nika ultimate response. Variety gets pulled into a dangerous zone, but he's tanky enough to hold on. Zyrhoes flanking around the back. Nobody really wants Tingz. Instead, he has to go for Nika and Aegis in response.
Uh-oh, final judgment
Good
onto
wall.
Variety. Trixtank going to get stunned out. Still has his ultimate, but the target is going to be FrostiaK. He doesn't have the Mystic Rush and not going to be able to blink with all these dots.
He's just trying to juke out as long as he can, and now the walls come crushing in as Qvo wraps on the corner, and the real poison will come through. Trixtank credited with the kill. Jungler is down, but a lot was invested by Dignitas too here, and they are not confident of the Fire Giant either.
But no ultimates for mousesports. As long as they remember that BigManTingz did use the final judgment, they can make this call to confirm the Fire Giant, knowing there is no great steal potential for mousesports. Still a little bit, don't get me wrong. The evade and punish does a lot of damage. The hieroglyphic assault from Thoth is to be respected. But with that final judgment, mousesports' chances are slim to none.
The Fire Giant's going down so quick. mousesports will not be here in time. Dignitas finally get a small win that's going to be converted now into some more gold for themselves, which honestly at this stage it's not really that important. It's just getting the towers down to get to the Phoenix to end the game.
Plenty of towers to go through. 3 tier 2 towers. The gold is negligible. Maybe it'll be closer to 3k potions at the end of the day, but it's all about how they abuse these respawn timers. FrostiaK coming back up in less than 10 seconds doesn't allow Dignitas to go for the middle Phoenix, especially with Thoth's ultimate up.
Do you defend the tier 2s here if you're mousesports, Tolly?
No need.
Why?
The gold is just unnecessary.
But it is map position though, right?
Well, the thing is you're so far away from your own fountain. If you're too low, the chase potential from Dignitas to chase you down becomes safer for them to overcommit.
Yeah, especially when you got a Morrigan and a Serqet with gap closers upon gap closers to maybe get in range. But Dignitas being respectful themselves here. Mouse showed up at the tier 2 on the left-hand side. So they get the Gold Fury, the Oracles, and then, well, farm up their own jungle now and go and buy their finalized items.
Well, the thing is, mousesports are going to defend tier 2 tower if Dignitas are going to try it without a minion wave. It's going to take a little bit longer without the backdoor protection, so Dignitas don't want to take their chances there. It's going to disengage, get some 500 gold potions, get some sentry wards to look for the proper angles to start penetrating for these Phoenixes.
So surprising to see Izanami in and amongst the meta once more. It's been a while since we've seen the young lady. I believe the last one, really, when we saw her.
Young lady?
She technically is,
no.
Isn't she? Is she old?
She's old.
She don't look old.
No, she is very, very old.
Oh, she baits then. I was like, she's a young lady. Like, the tricks. I wasn't aware of it.
Like, isn't her lore just something about being a demon trapped in a cave forever?
Yeah, but demons can be young.
They age.
True. When they want to. Tier 2 on the left-hand side is going to go for Dignitas. Mouse won't defend this one. But I actually like the call from Dig here, Tolly, as well, to split push and just send Qvo mid, keep poking away. Zyrhoes on the right-hand side who could stealth or transform if he gets under pressure and still make a rotation. But now these tier 2s are down. The question is, do you reckon they do it on the Phoenixes too? Is this the best option?
Oh my goodness, look at this wave. Zyrhoes has 2, maybe even 3 waves right beside him. FrostiaK is the one defending this time around, but he heard that stealth. He even sees the decoy.
As soon as you see it, he's just like, stay under the Phoenix, because if she steps into the tower or Phoenix range, vision will be granted, and then she can't find that full CC chain of stud into maximum damage. The dance begins then. 3-1-1 split from both teams. At the moment, Cherryo is going to keep QvoFred in check in the mid lane. FrostiaK's keeping the Morrigan dealt with on the right-hand side, but keep it on the left. It's going to be a hard engage if they go for this with Variety diving in, because Trixtank here, outside of a pull, he doesn't have Blink to engage.
A lot of sieging potential from Dignitas on all these fronts. A lot of damage from the Polynomicon out of Zyrhoes. QvoFred can easily flank on the left-hand side. I don't think QvoFred is ever committing to the middle Phoenix realistically. He's just waiting for one of these side lanes to get a little advantage for him to play cleanup on the Blink.
Yeah, I think that's a plan for mousesports too, is as soon as the side needs advantage, one of them is going to have to fall from the other side. But at the moment, all 3 lanes are doing a good job of just farming up the creeps, keeping Dignitas off the Phoenix line. Qvo jumps
there
in.
you go. QvoFred sees a little bit of an opening. He's not going to actually all-in commit. But look, FrostiaK even using the ultimate goes up and down, trying to peel Zyrhoes away.
But did he get anything out of Zyrhoes? Yes, he did. He got the Serqet ultimate out as the Morrigan transformation is down. Trixtank survives on the left-hand side, though, thanks to the Magi's cloak after Nika's ultimate. So FrostiaK and Nika ult down. Zyrhoes ultimate is down, but he's still got his relics available.
But without FrostiaK's ultimate and Nika, this can allow Dignitas to really start grouping up S5. And it surprises me a little that they don't just straight up all 5-man commit, knowing that they have double sustain.
The Fire Giant's about to wear off, though, totally.
The timing doesn't work out any longer, but might as well go for the second one. Get the enhanced version, making it 30% extra structure damage.
So realistically, Dignitas get that Fire Giant after the fight and managed to take down the towers and the Gold Fury, but they couldn't break Phoenixes. mousesports then, with their Phoenixes up, is it back to contesting the Fire Giant again for them?
It's possible. I don't know about their chances right now because those 3K potions are coming out from Dignitas. They have so much gold. There goes one from Zyrhoes, another one even from Variety. Surprised they went for damage instead of the defense, but neither here nor there. Maybe wanting to really burn some of these Phoenixes down.
So you know what the calculation of the defense versus the offense potions, of the elixirs, I should say? Like, isn't it better to go power if you've got power and defense if you've got defense? Is that how it works?
Well, at a certain point, you might have too much defenses. So in Variety's case, looking at his build, he's probably sitting at about 200 of each protection across the board between the Spirit Throw, Mantle of Discord, Voidstone. Even going for this Onis is a little bit surprising. Not the best item to have in the super duper late game. This is one of more of your early to mid game choices.
Fire Giant spawns. mousesports are not going to contest this. Everybody's still just going to stay at the Phoenix line. They seem confident that Dignitas do not have the ability to break the base in the current scenario.
The way they've done it before in the 1-1-3 split, mousesports could just comfortably wait because Dignitas weren't really forcing any issues around these Phoenixes. They were just kind of seeing if they can look for poke and then re-engage. I think Dignitas need to commit now to an all-in death ball. Maybe not all-in past the Phoenix or anything like that, but stop trying to stretch out mousesports. When you have a Fire Giant like this, a lot of burst damage potential out of Arkkyl onto these Phoenixes, even Zyrhoes, why not group?
I think the only change I may want to make with Dignitas' like decisions here is maybe Variety should have the sprint and Trixtank have the blink. That's the only thing that I can really see in the relics that would help them a little bit more on these sieges. Because if Trix sees a window for the blink ultimates, they're always impactful. They get beads, they get Magi's cloaks, and they also allow him to be the tank in front line.
Well, a blink Earth and Fury can also definitely swing a team fight if you can catch all 5 members, considering how far back BigManTingz is consistently.
But it doesn't CC though, does it?
No, it doesn't CC. I'll give you that, but Trixtank could definitely use that CC for peeling as well, trying to get FrostiaK off of his hyper carries.
Seems to be the same split so far. BigManTingz dancing between the left and the middle side. Cherryo focused on making sure Qvo's minions don't survive long enough to get chip away at the Phoenix. And Zyrhoes being forced to ult defensively against FrostiaK again, as FrostiaK's just keeping him in check time and time again.
I think Dignitas need to learn from these mistakes. Without Zyrhoes' ultimate, he's basically not as useful as he definitely is. Good pull onto Nika.
And the burst damage is actually a lot better than expected. The problem is there's no further follow-up to the backline to pick off Nika, who's going to limp back to the Phoenix. So the fountain, I should say. But Variety goes in on BigManTingz and pops his ult.
There goes the ult. Trying to root Big Man in place. Not going to find a Phoenix. Finally will fall. Dignitas even rooting out Cherryo. There goes Cherryo.
Okay, we get one. As the final judgment comes through, the snipes may be good enough. If only Dardez can find one.
Nope.
Qvo may have died, but instead the regen comes through. Meanwhile, Zyrhoes kept FrostiaK in this lane the entire time. FrostiaK wants to leave, but he knows when he does totally, Zyrhoes is just going to take the Phoenix.
Keeping FrostiaK honest, which is surprising because I would value Zyrhoes' Morrigan more in the left-hand side siege than the defense of FrostiaK on the right. So the fact that Dignitas are still committing to that just goes to show that they're very confident in their 3-on-3 or even 4-on-4s.
Well, now it's going to be a 1-4 for the time being, at least from Dignitas. QvoFred's dancing around the mid lane still, but all 4 members still feel they can get more out of this. The Fire Giant's available for about another minute and a half. And Trixtank's pull was what really set up Dignitas before to get the engage. Now they've got an additional member here.
Variety taking the Phoenix for a little bit. Monolith going to get taken out. Cherryo still dead for another 20 seconds as QvoFred is kind of distracting 2 members there, chipping away at this middle Phoenix. Right side Phoenix taking a whole heap of damage. And this is where Dignitas are starting to utilize their double sustain.
Still looking for his QvoFred's not going to get minion wave in. BigManTingz the only one there to defend it. And I'm a little bit worried about that. Thoth up against Serqet. If Kivo gets a good blink off, it could cause some problems there. But his blink's on cooldown right now. Variety's ult is back up. He goes in on Nika. Arkkyl got engaged on by FrostiaK, but FrostiaK is the one forced out of the fight.
Oh, QvoFred in the back line looking for FrostiaK. Applies the last breath. Final judgment is going to help Dardez take out QvoFred.
Phoenix does fall, though, so Dignitas get what they really wanted here. As long as they don't all die, they should be able to just hold on.
Oh, Zero smells blood. He stuns out Nika, but he bit off more than he could chew. Is not long enough to save you there.
And now Arkkyl falls too. The respawn times are 70+ seconds on every member of Dignitas. Trix just tried to lazy back, and that's another dead member of Dignitas. How many they've got up? They've got a 4. They could probably get a right-hand Phoenix here, Tom.
They could get something, but keep in mind that left side Phoenix for mousesports is exposed. Some fire minions might come in there. FrostiaK going to respawn in 30 seconds, but it's going to be Nika backing to defend.
Dardez is out of mana too, so it's not the greatest situation to be in as Mouse to try and go for a Phoenix, but it looks like that's the call from them. Nika's on defensive duty. There's no wards on mousesports side of the map from Dignitas, so Variety can't teleport to try and look for a cheeky backdoor or anything, or any plays there. It's up to Variety to try and stop this Phoenix along with the fire minions.
Well, without any minions from mousesports, they're forced to retreat. Fire Giant not due to respawn for 40 seconds. Only Trixtank won't be available for the defense out of Dignitas. That's if mousesports are feeling confident enough to go for it themselves.
No, they're not going to go for it. They're just going to tuck the tail between the legs. Dardez just out of mana. I think if Dardez had mana there, it could have been a bit of a different story.
That's
but
true.
No abilities being available for the Rama. You get caught, you're dead.
The pick-me-up steroid for the attack speed needs to be used for the Phoenix Sieges. Without that, without the dodge to be able to disengage, you're just asking for about time. And mousesports disciplined enough to respect that and disengage.
But that just puts them in a worse spot this time round, because the last Fire Giant, they had to give up. Even though they had all 3 Phoenixes up, now they've got 2 Phoenixes up. And the Fire Giants respawned again. Dignitas are coming through. Trixtank the last to respawn. Variety a little bit far forward here. He gets hit by the silence by Cherryo, but the follow-up from Dignitas, from mousesports isn't really there right now.
Not quite yet. Trixtank has revived. Going to get a little bit closer to the thick of things as mousesports might be flirting with the idea of defending this, but this left side Phoenix due to respawn any moment. There's going to be 2 fire minions to deal with, and BigManTingz has to defend.
In the grand scheme of things, this game, this should have been over earlier, but Dignitas' comp is just not good at sieging Phoenixes is the real problem. mousesports, meanwhile, honestly, FrostiaK and BigManTingz haven't really done much this game. They've kind of just existed. And I'm not trying to put them down, just like, hey, what happened? Well, dual aim from Mouse had a good time. Mid and jungle existed until the game was over.
So you say they don't have a great Phoenix sieging time, but honestly, I would make the argument the other way. No one can body block Arkkyl's basic attacks. Zyrhoes has the Polynomicon to do a little bit more damage. Cherryo going to get focused out, though.
Yeah, poison already consumed, though, and Cherryo will survive. Ultimate for ultimate was the trade there between the two. Cherryo's ultimate a little bit more impactful on these defenses because it can CC up multiple members of Dignitas. So 1 threat down on Mouse's roster as Variety blinks in.
Earth and Fury going to commit to the backline. Nika forced to jump away. Shell as well, rooted in place. Zyrhoes is the one now on the Morrigan.
And a great ult from Trixtank set up that first kill onto Nika. Dardez in the sky looking for his best Jermaine impressions. He can't find the kill yet, but Zyrhoes.
Zyrhoes commits. And Cherryo is very low, as is Zyrhoes. What a madman. QvoFred with a hot double kill from the stun out of Zyrhoes.
I don't know how Zyrhoes slipped through there, but he did. Wiggled in, wiggled out, using the stealth. Only dies once this game so far, and the middle Phoenix under threat as the right one is about to spawn. But there's 5 minions on the right hand side too.
Man, Zyrhoes, what a beast he is, and that one just being able to stun out 2 members very low without any Aegis or Beast to speak of. Very confident to make that play happen. Dignitas get the middle Phoenix in a 2-on-5. mousesports are trying to defend their Titan.
And they're not going to be able to stop this totally. mousesports will fall down to Dignitas in game 1. And it's back to the drawing board again for them. Dignitas, though, slow and steady, wins the race.
Oh, absolutely. Considering how much gold lead they had at the very end of the game, you would think that they were winning the whole entire game, but no, that wasn't the case. There was about a 6-minute window between 27 to 33 where there was that Fire Giant dance constantly back and forth, until finally Dignitas find the one pick that they need, start getting the objectives, and then even then, it still took them a long time to finally break down the wall of Mouse.
Who do you guys at home think was MVP for that game? Obviously, I'm going to turn to you. I'm going to say maybe Zyrhoes with a play.
That double stun was hot, but QvoFred's flanks were next level. The cleanup was good. I think it's a team effort as well because Variety goes in with a blink Terra, which is very unorthodox, but it made it work because knowing that Zyrhoes has the potential to go for a second Earth and Fury on his own front.
Yeah, there's less individual plays in that one with how low the kills were, to be fair, as well, and the player damage, but it was a good team effort from Dignitas. You guys get to decide that, and we'll ask the Des the same question. Who do you guys think were MVP?
Maybe Zero's Hindu man, as he asked who the MVP was there at the last moment, along with Anatoly. Good job on the call, as always, fellas. What about you, Taco? You think Zero's kind of impressed you on that Morrigan play in that one? QvoFred also looked good on the Serqet. Anyone stand out?
It had to be one or the other because I definitely feel it a little bit more towards Zero's side of things. Even though Qvo was there for a lot of the setup, you need that follow-up from Zyrhoes in order to truly be successful off of things. And Zyrhoes as well, with a lot of his own self-setup even.
Sure.
And I don't even think that he really required Qvo to be with him all the time. I think that Dignitas just did a great job. A little bit of a slower-paced match, but that was just because of the way that Mouse constantly responded to Dignitas. They were just so passive at times and seemed like right around the 30-minute mark, they were perfectly content with just playing off of their structures. They understood we're the ones with the Thoth pick. BigManTingz is going to be able to do some pretty good defenses here, and that's what we did get a lot of action underneath those Phoenixes.
And yeah, I mean, you're right, and certainly the damage is there from Tings, but I don't know. This felt like one of those long games where it was never really in much question. Dignitas were kind of out in front the whole time. There was never like a big surge coming out from Mouse. Early on, it was close, yes, I would say, between the two, and they stayed relevant. But like once you start breaking to the mid-game, once Dignitas got control, it was just them kind of slow playing it like they often do.
After Dig finally got that right-hand Phoenix, that's where the base breach was able to take place, and then from that point forward, Mouse constantly had to play on the back foot underneath those structures, and they couldn't just rely on the Thoth clearance like they had been doing the entire time beforehand. And just a great job from Dig as well, making sure to not all wipe at once. Had they all wiped at once after that right-hand Phoenix siege, I too feel as though that could have posed an entirely separate outcome here for these two teams, but because Mouse weren't able to really find the kills, and even then, that last kill onto Trixtank took quite some time to confirm.
They had to chase him down, yeah. I think that was kind of the big difference maker. You're right to highlight that because that game was already going in Dignitas' favor, but they certainly could have been punished on the back end of that, and they made sure that that Mouse weren't in a position to push. But it's QvoFred on the Serqet, who was selected by you all out there in Mixer Chat as the MVP, and I think that's a good call on that one, especially towards that mid-game. That's huge. Cobra's Kiss into the Deathbane to try and set up for 2, but he's so good on this pick in the jungle, it's so hard to stop Dignitas, and he has it.
It's the grab as well. The fact that he took Tings midway through the evade and punish doesn't even let him get the entire channeling off of that ability and just intercepts. That's what makes Qvo so dangerous on the Serqet. I do feel as though he's one of the better players in terms of just cutting off the escape routes. He is excellent at catching people midway through their departures, and there's just no way to escape if you've already burned that cooldown.
How, as well as QvoFred played, talk to me a little bit about what you saw from Mouse here in their change-up, right? Did you see enough from FrostiaK in the jungle? How the dual lane kind of feel to you a little bit? Do you think that Mouse looked better? Like, this is something they can build from? I mean, if you had to evaluate it this early.
I think the problem with this game is that it doesn't really show us everything that FrostiaK has to offer from Mouse because of how passive they played.
Yeah.
It was just... Everyone was behind from Mouse, and they knew from the very start that they were going to be behind throughout the duration of this match, so they just tried to drag it out, give themselves a little bit of time to get to that late-game stage where the Thoth can really start to take off and really emphasize or highlight BigManTingz there on the Thoth pick for having him as the ideal pressure damage carry. It just never really came to fruition there. FrostiaK, I feel, was effectively shut out by Qvo.